80 degrees on Thursday. 83 on Friday. 81 on Saturday. Shabbat Shalom all.
We have no spring. We go from winter to summer.
I think we get 2 weeks of summer and then we go back to spring and then a week of winter and then.
Yeah, what was a third winter we had?
We went to the mikvah together. Really? At the same day.
Hopefully not at the same time.
No, not at the same time.
Because actually, and our day is this coming Thursday, a week from yesterday. And it's like, it's gonna be the whole day, like morning through. So it's exciting. So, that's always a big day for us. It's a long day. We give each person an hour, so we don't have to rush it. And so I'll be there until through the evening, actually. But it's going to be exciting. In fact, we're hoping to do a special Shabbat celebrating those folks at the end of May. It's only a few weeks away.
How many people?
Well, I think we start at 1 and we go all the way through like 7. So I think we have 6 people. Yeah, we have 6 people. We actually have more on the list, but that's all we could do without falling flat on our faces. Well, no, I actually, my goal, well, my real vision, I mean, the things I get excited about is, I don't know if I need an endowment or what, probably not, but I would love there to be a major conversion center at Beth Israel that I supervise. And that I think that I mean, it's not just me. I don't want to make it about like my perspective. I think a lot of people realize that the future, especially of like conservative Judaism, is with people choosing Judaism, because a lot of people who are already Jewish want the easier route of reform. I mean, it's a shorter service. God bless them. I'm jealous, right? Like they want kind of an easier, less demanding route, or they're like fervent. They're like, I realize that none of you guys are serious enough, and I'm going to I can daven for 3 hours straight, and I'm a serious person, and they want to be Orthodox. And so the people who are very fond of conservative, I find, are often people choosing Judaism because they don't have the baggage of growing up with it. And their attitude is, I just met with someone yesterday for 2 hours. Their attitude is, I get the entire tradition with you guys, right? There's nothing that you're not studying. You'll read anything, you'll study Talmud. I can do Chavruta pairing, because these people today, they read everything on the internet. By the time they meet with me, they could be applying for rabbinical school. I mean, it's really like, it's shocking, like how much these people know. And so they're like, I get the whole breadth of tradition with you, but I also don't get some of the fundamentalist baggage I'm trying to get away from. I want to be able to be, I'm coming to you because I want to be able to be a free thinker. And I don't want, I'm not looking for straight up conformism. I'm looking for practice, deep rooted. I'm not scared of complexity practice. And so, you know, some of the best rabbinical school students are converts, and many of them are. And so I would love it, Beth Israel, especially in a town that's like this one, if we had like a real center for it. We focused on it. It was on our homepage. It was like, this is a major thing we do. Because I have students coming from, not Muskegon, but like, we have students coming from very far away. And so we could be like the Michigan Center of I could have all of you teach. Absolutely. Anyway, so thanks for coming. So we're making a minyan tonight using the folks who are on Zoom. So God bless you and Shabbat Shalom to those who are joining us by streaming, which means we'll skip the Baruch Hu tonight, but otherwise we are good to go. And we'll do some davening. So let's start on page, actually, let's start with Yedid Nefesh tonight. Since I did some talking, we'll start on 14 instead of 13. Yedid Nefesh av harachaman mishohavdach eretzonach yaharutz avdach kemo ahaya yishtachaveh emul hadaharach Yerav lo yedidutach mi nofetzu v'chol ta'am. Last verse. Higalena ufros chaviv ala yetzukat shelomach ta'ir eretz mikvodach Nagila v'nismechabach Maher ahuv kiva moed v'chaneni ki me'olam. So as we just went through the mystical poem, our soul is like a wild goat or a wild deer that is naturally connected to God and bears no burden, is not a domesticated beast of burden. So as we stand here at the gates of Shabbat, we connect with our soul. We know that we enter into Shabbat without the burdens of the week and the burdens of the human cares, and we are already automatically connected to God, like a deer wandering around the forests of Ann Arbor. We don't need to do anything to connect to God because we already are. And that leaves us at page 15. The Pilgrims Psalm of Arrival. We've arrived at the gateway to Shabbat. If you're still carrying any burdens from the week, you haven't submitted your grades, you haven't graded enough papers, you haven't finished the article you promised, or you didn't make a call to someone who probably could have made a call to, you wanted to make a call to, you haven't returned an email, you didn't do something you said you do, or you're worried about a child or a grandchild. Whatever it is, this is the time where before you say the words of the L'chun you're supposed to leave the baggage on the floor and not carry that burden into the holy space in time of Shabbat. And let's sing and start with moving our tongue in syllables of gratitude. L'chun l'Adonai Nariya litzor yishenu nikadma fanav betohoda bizmirot nariya lohom. We seek to be just one of the goats or the sheep in the flock of God, with not a strong hand on us guiding us, but giving us the freedom to do our thing, but still knowing that we have the gentle guidance of a larger spirit, larger direction. We reach the final three lines and we sing them out loud. God interrupts the poet to tell us that our ancestors scared away the Shekhinah, the Spirit of God, by complaining and finding the world falling short. So we put it here at the beginning of entering a time of holiness to remind ourselves not to do the same. Let's find the next 27 hours is just full of beauty to be appreciated. Arba'im Shana Akut Bedor Ba'omar Am Tohe Levavhem Vehem Lo Yadu Derachai Asher Nishbati V'Api Im Yavon El Menuchati. I picked up a couple poems for today. We have the poetry that takes us toward the Mariv service in the Siddur. Briefly, it goes through the Psalms starting with 96, that there's a song playing in the field, in the forest, in the sea tonight, and we're seeking to hear the harmony, the fact that God hears it all the sounds of everything alive together as one symphony, and we want to strive to hear it as well. In Psalm 97, we realize that the injustice and the difficulties, the din of the week keeps us from hearing the sounds of creation as a symphony of praise, and we acknowledge the blockage. In Psalm 98, we seek to sing a new song, for God has worked wonders. We seek a way to join in with the song, that joyous song that's coming from all around the earth, from the sound of every living thing, including ourselves, that is heard as music. Psalm 99. So we remember that that which shields us, that which blocks us from appreciating the presence of God around us, we view it as like a cloud, there's smoke, there's something beyond, but we are reminded that our ancestors heard God speak from a cloud. So rather than view the world as an obstacle to connecting with God, realize it's part of connecting with God. And then we get to page 20 with Psalm 29, that even in the storms, that's not preventing us from hearing the harmony of God. It leads us to it. I'm going to share a couple of poems from The Dream of the Poem by Peter Cole. I've never shared from here before, and it's really an amazing collection of Hebrew poetry from Muslim and Christian Spain from 950 to 1492. And I'm trying to prepare for an upcoming bat mitzvah where I'm trying to convince the family to let me do a poetry reading for Friday night using Spanish poetry to represent the heritage of the family. But tonight, English only translations. So I'm going to start with a poem from, pardon me. So it's 2 poems or 3 poems. They're all short. It's got to be Solomon ibn Gabirol. Yeah, just wanted to make sure. Shlomo ibn Gabirol from the 11th century. Translated from the Hebrew. Who could grasp your intensity, informing the radiance of purity from the great glow of your glory? From a rock, the rock has hewn, from the hollow of a clearness withdrawn. You sent the spirit of wisdom along it and gave it the name of soul, and formed it out of the fire of intellect's ardor, whose spirit burned on inside it. And you sent it out through the body to serve it and guard it. And you watch as it acts like a flame within it, though the body isn't consumed. Love the image from the burning bush, but here it's the body and the soul. And you watch as the soul acts like a flame within the body, though the body is not consumed. It was formed from the spark of soul and brought into being from nothing when the Lord came across it in fire. This is from a poem called The Hour of Song. I've set my shelter with you in my awe and fear, and in despair established your name as a fortress. I looked to the right and to the left, and no one was near, and into your hands I committed my loneness. I give you my portion of the world's worth. Of all my labor, you're my desire and cause. And here, out of love, in you my mind is immersed. In song's hour, the work of my worship is yours. And this is from his poem, Three Things. Three things meet in my eyes and keep the thought of you always before me. The skies, which make me think of your name as they bear faithful witness for me. The place where I stand, which brings my mind back to the land you extend beneath me. And bless my soul. Bless my soul, my Lord, at all times, for heart's reflection within me. That's a reference to Proverbs, where it says, the way the soul knows itself is it sees itself as an image in water, the proverb goes. One heart is reflected back in another. And one 4-line poem. The flood. No man's foot would touch the ground if my weeping ever kept pace with my sorrow. But the covenant wasn't for Noah alone. For my tears too, God sent the rainbow. So I picked this spot because we just had the flood psalm of Psalm 29. So rather than seeing the flood as threatening, I love that for my tears too, and not just the flood, God sent the rainbow. Adonai lama bol yashav vayeshev Adonai melech leolam Adonai oz liamo yitein Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Takes us to Lachadodi, page 21. And why don't you join me in a couple of the first few verses and a couple of the final verses. And remember, even if you don't know Hebrew, you're welcome just to or you don't know the prayer and all its specifics, just to say la, 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 or go along with the melody. Lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela shamor v'zachor bedibor echad hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad uhu shemo echad l'shem ol tiferet v'litila lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela likrat Shabbat v'chuvenecha ki mikor haberacha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela mikdash melech ir melucha kumitzi mitocha hafecha ravlach shevet be'ehem mekabacha vehu yachamol alaychem la lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela. Middle 22. Yamin usmaol tifrot siviet Adonai taritzi al yadish behen partzi v'nismecha v'nagila lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom atereba gam besimcha uvetzala toch emune yam segula boi chala lecha dodi likra kahala pene Shabbat nekabela. We may be seated. We have just welcomed the spirit of Shabbat, Shekhinah, and so may the spirit continue to reside among us for all of Shabbat. The Shabbat Psalm is on the following page. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tolod Adonai zamer l'shimcha elyon. Odinuvun beseva. Deshenim v'rananim yihiyu liagid ki yashar Adonai. Tzuriv lo avlaha tabo. Page 24. Rivers may rise and rage, and the waters may pound and pulsate, and the floods may swirl and storm, but above the crash of the sea and its mighty breakers is Adonai, our God supreme. Edotecha nemnu ma'od, levedcha nava kodesh Adonai, ba'orech yamim. The first of our two mourners' Kadishes is on the middle of 24. For those reciting the Kaddish, please rise and recite with me. Actually, let me read the names first. I know people are also streaming at this time. Beth Israel Congregation remembers, among others, on this Shabbat, Goldie Alpern, Aaron Alpern, Betty Apteker, Lloyd Bender, Arthur Bernstein, Eugene Porshchevsky, Hyman Brader, Sarah Danziger, Donald Fendrick, Herman Franzblau, Henry Friedman, Francis Fuchs, Harry Gantz, Julia Garville, Samuel Geffen, Seymour Gilman, Elizabeth Glazier, Martin Goldstein, Leah Goldstein, Ron Good, Menashe Gigi, Julia Karp Kirsch, Eileen Lerner Zirin, Rhoda Martel, Mildred Monto, Ellen Moss, Paul Newman, Ruben Portnoff, Schiffer Reichman, Mary Rose, Louis Rosenblum, David Schulman, Harry Scott, Lauren Seeger, Ronald Seeger, Bruce Serwin, Karen Shabbatai, Naim Sharbarani, Jean Schokler, Leslie Silverman, Mildred Simon, and Hannah Spivak, as we continue to remember Elaine Stoller, Natalie Scher, Suzanne Feingold Schultz, Judith Cashton, Lorraine Sherman, Michael Adams, Leona Leon, Phyllis Werble, Fanchen Lessing, Carol Feinerman, David Fallman, Bruce Thal, Carol Amster, Gary Joseph Ullman, Paul Ernest Phillips, Leslie Garber Matthews, Alan Fisherman, Raisa Levinskaya, Alice Coben, and now Toby Barbin Rothaus. For those reciting, please rise and recite on 24. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dukudesha richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al Yisrael v'imru amen. We are seated as we continue with the Mariv service on page 28. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'dvar. Umavir yom umivi laila, mavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch alenu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hama'arihi v'aravim. Page 29. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael. V'avatcha tasimenu lolamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Continue silently from 30 into 31. Adonai Elohechem Middle of 32. Umalchuto b'ratzon kiblu alehem. Moshe Miriam uvnei Israel lechanusha b'simcha haraba. V'yamru laham. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norati lo tosefele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei yam lifnei Moshe. Ze'eli anu v'yameru. Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar kifada Adonai Yaakov. V'gulam hazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. On page 33, let's read together in English, especially when bombs are still falling on Ukraine and terrorist acts are still happening in Tel Aviv and outside and in Israel. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praised are you, Adonai. Spreads the shelter of peace over us, over your people Israel, and over Jerusalem, and over all who need it tonight. That takes us to page 34, a few lines of Torah to remind us of being refreshed on Shabbat. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי Shabbat vayinafash. We head into the Silent Amidah in just a moment. It'll be 35b to 38, or your own personal prayers, the prayer that you should be having tonight, the one that fits this moment, the music that's around us, and exactly the new song that should be taking place tonight, or the liturgy from 35b to 38. Please rise. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba b'yamad divrak yurtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'hagala v'zman kariv ve'imeru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach v'yalam ulam me'al mayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'tramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yama v'imheru. 35b to 38, Hebrew or English, or just your own personal prayers of the moment. Those who are still davening, please continue. The rest of us are on page 47. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvihi melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvihi mikol melachto asher asa Vayevarech Elohim et Yom HaShvi'i Vayekadesh oto Kivo shavat mikol melachto Kivo shavat mikol melachto Asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim la'asot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Konei Shamayim v'Aaretz Magen Havod bidvaro Mechaye Meitim b'mamaro Ha'el HaKadosh she'ein kamohu Hameniach le'amo Yom Shabbat kodsho Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Kivam ratza lehaniach lahem, Lefanav na'avod b'yirav v'fachad, V'nodeh lishmo b'chol yom tamid, Me'on habrachot. El ha'od ha'ot adon ha'shalom mekadesh ha'shabbat u'mvarech shvi'i u'meniach b'kedusha v'yamedu shnei oneg zecher l'maaseh v'reishit. We're seated. We're at the top of page 48. And let's read together in English. Our God and God of our ancestors, find favor in our Shabbat rest. Instill in us the holiness of your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our portion. Fill our lives with your goodness, and gladden us with your triumph. Cleanse our hearts so that we might serve you faithfully. Lovingly and willingly, Adonai our God, grant that we inherit your holy Shabbat, so that the people Israel who hallow your name will always find rest on this day. Praised are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Yikadav yikadash shemei rabah, v'yalmad divrei kirtei v'yamlech malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chaytucho beit Yisrael, b'galav v'zman kari v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach, v'yalam ulal me'amaya. Yiparach v'ishtabach v'yipar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalav v'yitalav shmeru kudesha brichu le'elam min kol berchatav v'shiratav tishbchatav v'nechematav damiram b'yalma v'imeru. Amen. Tikabal tzolot v'aton l'chol Yisrael kol damav honu v'yishmaya v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. We rise for Aleinu, page 51. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adom ha'kol la'teit kiruna v'yotzeh breshit shelo asaru kegoyei haratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo samchalkenu kahem v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam. Yanachnu korim umishachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Hakatu b'tortech Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo echad. We may be seated, except for those reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. We're on page 52 for the Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach ve'olam ulamei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha, brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May their memories continue to bring blessings to this world. And Shabbat Shalom. I want to just share a couple of brief announcements so people, especially those streaming, will know that next Friday, which is Friday the 13th, I'm not taking my chances because it's Friday the 13th after all. So, but the service will be led, just in case I would fall and hurt myself, God forbid, on the 13th. Next Friday is a musical Shabbat led by Rabbi Ora Ahuvia. And so Rabbi Ahuvia has a special way of doing it, which is it's more like maybe like one line. They'll do a couple of times and really sink into the meaning of it. And not doing every word of the entire service, but covering all the halachic parts. And so she has a beautiful voice and a beautiful way with her. And for those who have heard her before, she'll be leading Friday night services next Friday night. And that's at 6 o'clock from 6 to 7. But before Rabbi Ahuvia leads, there will be a 15-minute presentation, again, from our own Fia Blumenthal. We get updates from Fia. She's not only a child of this congregation and related to Beth Dwoskin and Bob Blumenthal, our immediate past president, but Fia not only grew up in this congregation, liturgically, but ethically. And so she works for Dror Israel, which is an amazing organization that this congregation supports financially as well as spiritually, to work creating peace in Israel of all kinds, definitely among Palestinian Arabs and Israeli Jews, and also in other ways. And right now they're doing a lot of work with Ukraine. And so they work with youth, they work with troubled youth in Israel, and she works for them. And so she's visiting her folks, she's passing through, and I've asked her to fill us in on what life has been like for Dror Israel, and gives report. They also work with, last time she was here, she presented on their work with Jews from African countries who have immigrated to Israel and in many cases have faced a lot of racism. So, but this presentation, I believe, will be focused on Ukraine. So that's from 5:45 p.m. to 6 next Friday night. And then from 6 on, Rabbi Ahuvia will be leading. That does include guitar. And we look forward to that. If you know a teenager who would be interested in going on an organized teen group trip to Israel, they're still taking applications for the Eli Leiden Israel Teen Scholarship. And for those who may have children who are not yet at that level, we should keep in mind that there's money for our kids when the time comes, and that we should utilize it. So those are the major announcements. Tomorrow we have a Simchat Mitzvah, which is a kind of non-binary simcha and affirmation, and we're looking forward to that. And next week we have, Rachel's not next week, is she? Oh my gosh. So, and next week is Rachel's bat mitzvah, and we're going to look forward to that. Boy, it's coming up fast. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. And when it really is, it's going to be great. And and thanks to everyone who joined us tonight. Let's just finish with a simple Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Ve'imru imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Keni hiratzon. Shabbat shalom. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.